All right. That wasn't awkward at all. Well, my internet died in the middle of trying to do stuff. So, but StreamYard kept on going, even though I lost connection to StreamYard. StreamYard kept on doing its thing because it's all in the cloud. So the stream didn't go down. You just saw a grainy wood background that is the background if nothing is showing on the screen. So that was interesting, to say the least. So yeah, all right. So let's see. Let me make sure that the stream is actually up and running first of all, because I don't know. So we're just gonna pull this up on my phone, like a third-party solution. Good. It is. It is. It's up and running. I can hear it, and we're good. All right, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, whether you're watching live or in the VODs. And today we are going to, as it says on the bottom scroller, we're going to be doing more Elixir, more Phoenix, more Elixir. I was sick all last week, so that's why there was no stream. If you're looking for any new recordings or trying to look for the stream, yeah, I was sick, so there was no stream, but I am back in action, so we can start doing stuff. Um, before we get actually before we get started, I wanted to show something that I have been working on and off on for the past, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks during my spare time, and it was trying to create an environment where I could do Elixir or Phoenix coding without having to do any installations, aka using Docker slash using Visual Studio Code, their dev container system, and also using GitHub code spaces. Like they're almost one and the same. Basically, if you can get your project running in a VS Code dev container, you could by extension get it running in GitHub code spaces very easily. And if you're not familiar with GitHub Codespaces, GitHub Codespaces is being able to launch a repository in the cloud running on a server elsewhere and just doing development. So it allows you to work on almost basically any computer, even a tablet, uh, as long as you have your project set up with GitHub Codespaces or your project set up with a dev container configuration. So I had gone and developed this. It was a lot of trial and error, and it's still not 100% perfect. So I'm going to throw this link in the chat and display this on the screen. So this is definitely not perfect by no stretch, but it does get a person started and get a development environment booted up without having to install anything on your computer other than locally Docker, or if you have GitHub Codespaces, just launching a code space. Um, so I wanted to try to use this for the uh, for the project that we have been currently working on. So let me go ahead and open that up. So this template is designed to easily get you started with generating a new project, which it has a step right here. But if you already have a project set up, then all you have to do is just copy what's in the dev container folder and place it inside your project. So that's what I'm going to try to do, and then we're going to try to open this up in code spaces after that. So I don't have a .dev container folder set up yet. So we're just going to go ahead and take what is in here and just copy and paste these files in what we have, these files, exact files that we have in here, over into our project over here. So let me try to do all that. So .dev container. That is at the wrong root of stuff. So dev container, and we will need 3 files. We'll need the Docker file, dev container JSON file, and Docker compose file. So let me go ahead and make those files. So we have the Docker file, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this in. So what this is doing is this is pulling down the Elixir Docker image, setting up a bunch of configuration to install Node, Git, Postgres client, and install npm, run the npm install, and install Hex and install Phoenix in here with the specified version, and then just get this whole container up and running for development. So that's our Docker file that sets up our work environment. Next is our dev container.json. Dev container.json file. And this is our magic file that tells GitHub Codespaces and Visual Studio Code how to run things. So it is telling it we're going to be using a Docker Compose file. We're telling it what app, where to launch, where our development container is going to be in, and this is going to be defined in the Docker Compose file, the app. Some additional configuration to get Postgres up and running and connecting to it, and then I also added in a couple of extensions just off the bat that if you don't have the right extensions, it will automatically install those extensions for you. And the main one is just Elixir, the Elixir linter tool for VS Code. And then our final file that we will need, is our Docker Compose YAML file. So Docker Compose YAML file. So this is the last little bit that actually tells Docker how to run our application. So we tell GitHub Codespaces to run our Docker Compose file and what to connect to for our development environment, which is app. And then within our Docker Compose file, we tell it to use our Docker file, and we have several items of configuration, like the variant of like setting up the variant, which is what version of Elixir we want to use, which Phoenix version we want to use, and a couple other configurations to get our thing up and running and living nicely within the dev container, and then setting up a database, because for Phoenix we need Postgres, so setting up a Postgres database service to run. And then after that, let's just make sure that whatever version of Elixir we're dependent on, we're dependent on Elixir 1.10. So let's make sure that we say that we want Elixir 1.10 right there for our variant. And we're looking to use Phoenix 1.5.6. just to be abundantly sure that we have the correct Phoenix version also within our container. And I think hopefully that's it. So we can test this locally first before we try to do this on a so what I'm going to do 2 things. First, I'm going to test local to see if I can get this up and running, the dev container up and running locally. And the nice thing is since we're setting up this dev container, I don't have to worry about it, this project to install Phoenix and Elixir and all these dependencies locally on my computer. As long as I have Docker, the dev container can boot up and run, since we set up all this configuration file. But also, the thing I want to check on is if this would work in GitHub Codespaces. So if it works locally, there's a high probability it will work in GitHub Codespaces too. So that's going to be the 2-step process that we're going to go through. So in order to get this up and running after adding this, The manual way to do it is you click on these little chevrons, and you say reopen in container. So this will reopen our current project inside a dev container defined by our configuration files we just set up. So let's see, did that from a Docker? Oh, it thinks that it doesn't think that we have that dev container folder yet. So we might need to actually restart this project. So let's go ahead and close this, and let's go ahead and reopen it and see what happens. We'll just give VS Code a little bit of time to catch up with the stuff as it's opening up and loading up all its all the extension stuff. Okay. So let's see. Use base configuration for the container definition registry. Yeah, why is it not recognizing my dev container? Did I spell it correctly? Let's see. Just for sanity's sake, dev container. Open workspace and container. That's not. Why? Let's try this again. Okay, these are all predefined stuff. So it's not recognizing my dev container for whatever reason. Do I have everything set up correctly? Dev container. I did not spell that right. That could be the reason why. There we go. Problem solved. All right, so we clicked it. It's not prompting. So now, yeah, there we go. Now it's going to try to open this up. So it's going to go and do a number of things. It's going to go download the Docker image and try to get everything up and running. Looks like we already hit a snag. Yes. Let's figure out why we hit a snag. So luckily this opened up everything in a log. It did not find Elixir 1.1.0. Interesting. So our variant definition is off. Let's see. So I guess we just have to choose the latest 1.10 version. Let's see if this will actually say in our mix lock. It does not. So what version of Elixir are we running here? We're running 1.11.1. So we'll go ahead and tell it to run 1.11.1. Now let's try this again. So we updated our variant because it hiccuped on that. Let's try this again. Yep. Let's see. Let's check the log. Okay. So now it successfully downloaded the correct version of Elixir. So it went and downloaded 1.11.1. So we can see it pulling down that Elixir image coming through. And then after it does that, it is going, well, we can't see the file because it's still updating it. And then so it's going to go through so right now through the dev container.json, we told it to look at the Docker Compose file. And you can see right here, it actually ran the Docker Compose command up. So the Docker Compose file defined two services: our app service that is going to have our Phoenix project in it, and it defined a database service that will run Postgres, so we don't have to worry about having Postgres installed. From there, it went and from that Docker Compose file, it said use a Docker file that is defined over here, which we have locally, and then from the top it says install Elixir, and then from there it had several steps to install Node and Git and a couple other small things. You can extend that Docker file if you want to add in more dependencies that you want within your Docker file, within your development Docker image. That will be your working environment. So we'll just have to wait on this. So this takes a little bit. So hopefully when we do this on GitHub Codespaces, this will be a lot quicker because we're not going to be using my computing resources to go and download that Elixir image and compile everything. Instead, we'll be using the resources of GitHub Codespaces and running all that code in the cloud. So we'll see how quickly that takes. So right now we could see it that it is installing npm. So let me increase the font a little bit. Oops, this banner is in the way. So yeah, we can see that it's installing npm right there. So so far so good with this. So after this is done, I will be able to use anyone can clone this repository and run this on their computer without ever having to worry about installing Postgres, installing Elixir, installing whatever version of Phoenix and whatnot. They'll just be able to clone this repository, launch this in a dev container, and just start coding right away. That's the awesome part with this. So you can see it's installing Elixir 157 that we've specified. So that's the reason why I really love the dev container concept, and why I am really trying to harness the power of Codespaces. Because with Codespaces, you don't even have to develop on your own computer. You can develop on a tablet, a low-powered computer, whatever it is. Because all the computing resources are going to be in the cloud and not on your computer, tablet, whatever it is. So you don't have to worry about installing all the dependencies. All right, so now our project appears to have ran and is running, and we are inside a dev container. So this is all inside a Docker image right here. So let's see if everything works fine. So there you could see like this whole thing is different. We're logged in as like a root user. So we have access to IEX in here. And I should be able to run mix start, my custom aliased command, to get everything, to get my server up and running. Codespaces plus VR. Yes, Dr. Argus. All the things. So it looks like it's compiling just fine. So it might fail. I just realized, because we haven't created the we need to, well, this is fine, but we haven't created the database. So we can see right here it's failing because we haven't, because this is a brand new working environment. Even though this is on my computer, we're using code space, we're using a dev container. And in that dev container, we have a completely separate running instance of Postgres in here, completely new environment for running our Phoenix application. So the database we're trying to connect to hasn't had the scaffolding, hasn't had ecto run. So I believe it's this exo create to run the migrations or create the database and run all the migrations and stuff. So let's see. So we should be getting tons of angry messages here. So it has been created. Let's see if is it ecto migrate for the for our commands? I should probably write that down in my cheat sheet if it. There we go. So then over here, it will, looks like we need to, looks like we have an NPM issue. So it's not 100% there. So node build, node mini access, module failed. Linux 64.10. Because your environment has changed since running npm install. So we have to rebuild node SAS. And that's true. The environment did change since running npm install. That is 100% correct. Because we're in a brand new sandboxed environment. So let's go ahead and try killing this real quick. Let's go ahead and run npm install again. And let's try doing mix start. Oh yeah, I forgot. We need to run npm install and all that type of stuff within our directory that contains our assets. Let me delete this package log file that I just generated. So we have to go inside of our assets, I believe. Yeah. And we have to run we might need to run this npm rebuild. So here's my little cheat sheet that I like to use, Phoenix app. So that's starting a Phoenix app, configuring your database, to create. Let's add a new thingy in here. A toggle list, and migrations, just in case I ever forget. So run migrations is mix ecto migrate. And let me put this right next to let me rename this to create DB database. Oh, got a message. Yep. Nothing big. So let me try to do mix start and see if this mix start cannot be found. Oh, because we're still in the assets folder and we're not using Z shell, so that's why. Mix starts. Okay. It's starting everything up. It looks like it is fine and dandy. Let's see what happens if I try opening this up now. Localhost 4000. And we're hitting it. There it is. There's the request coming through. And there you go. Our server's alive, living inside of a dev container. Looks like we still have a little bit of a dependency issue here. But it's alive. It's alive. Let's see if we can do this rebuild node SaaS thing. It's alive. It's rebuilding node SaaS. Ooh, it's downloading the binary. It's doing the things for the Linux environment. And it completed. Fancy. We shouldn't have to worry about doing this all too much. It's just like a little weird intermediate things today. Okay, so let's go ahead and commit this. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to commit these these new files that we just generated. So set up our project to work in dev container / code spaces. Yeah, that's fine. Let's commit that. And then let's go ahead and push that up. So let's go ahead and close this remote connection down. Now the bigger now we're going to take this out for a spin. We're going to see if we can get this to work on GitHub Codespaces. So let's go to our repository. And we're going to see if we can get this running in Codespaces. So code, new code space. Let's delete this one because it's the one I was playing with earlier. And let's open this up. So it should go through the same workflow that that we did locally using the dev container. It takes a look at that dev container.json file that's contained in the .dev container directory. It will then tell it to look at our Docker Compose file. Our Docker Compose file will then tell it how to set up and build our environment using Docker. So you can see right here, there it's going. And then you can see up here when it found the dev container JSON file, it determined it was valid and it did its thing. There was some additional configuration contained in that file that I saw flash for a second. Maybe it was during the end. Oh, there we go. You can see it's setting up some local volumes. And yeah, now it's just pulling down all the database images and all the dependencies. This is actually going way faster than it did locally, which is awesome. And this is, we're not using my computing resources, we're using the stuff on the web. So it's probably taking a load off on the computer because the computer is busy trying to stream to Twitch and do that stuff. And this isn't generally released yet. I believe not. It's still in beta. Let's actually find out. So we can go to GitHub. That's fine. Let's do a little searchy search. It might be as simple as requesting access. I'm not sure. Now that I have access to it, I don't have visibility on how quickly people can gain access to it. Yeah, so if you go GitHub features code spaces, let me throw this into the chat real quick. So if you go to that site, you can request early access to this. The one thing to note is you don't have to do the stuff I did to have a dev container running. By default, GitHub Codespaces comes with like an already configured dev container, so you can go ahead and try to launch your project in Codespaces. It's just that container that is set up to do development in is designed to work with Java, Node, C#, I believe. It's already pre-configured to work with a bunch of different, very common programming languages. It's not configured to run with Elixir. So I had to take this extra step of trying to create my own container to develop in for it to use. So that's what these extra steps had to do. But if you already have a JavaScript-based project that's either Node or front-end only library, you like a front-end web app, just launching it in Codespaces will be just fine. All the dependencies are there for you to use. So yeah, just request early access and hopefully get access to it right away. Hopefully. Ooh, and while we weren't looking, it looks like we got our container up and running. So you can see this launched the repository in a cloud version of Visual Studio Code in the browser. So this is all running on a web server somewhere. Let's see here. So we are in our project here. So let's go ahead and try to run mix start like we did last time and see what happens. Ooh. Oh, we're missing. So I didn't commit my credentials file, my dev secret exs, because it's not committed onto GitHub. So I'll have to drag that in from my existing project and add that in. So let me go ahead and take a look at that. Over here. So it's contained within config and then dev secrets access. So let me go ahead and hide my screen real quick as I try to get this into the GitHub project. And it was as simple as just dragging that file in. I was able to just take that file, drag it into the browser. It opened it up immediately. So it's good that I hid my screen because we don't want that to happen. So if you happen to be doing a screen share or anything like that and don't want to expose that file, any credentials, any secrets and stuff like that, don't share your screen when you drag that file in, but it's there now. So let's take a look. So let's not take a look inside, but let's try running our project again. Let's go bigger font. All right, so now it's compiling the project. Looks like we have to do a mix. Well, we don't have any of our dependencies and stuff like that, so we have to go and install everything because we're dealing with a fresh project. So that's forgot about that step. So it's just like cloning a repository on your computer. Instead, it's cloned and is in the cloud in a code space. So we'll give it a little bit. It's getting there. Almost there. Phoenix Live dashboard, Guardian. Oh, it went in and installed all the dependencies. I guess mix steps. Mix. All right, let's try this. Mix start now. Oh, we have to create our database. So let's go ahead and do mix ecto. I think there might even be an ecto setup command. Yeah. So ecto setup creates the database, runs the migrations, gets us all good. So now we do mix start. Could not start node watcher because we have to run npm install inside our assets folder. Okay. Let's go ahead and do that now. Assets, cd, assets. Oh. Looks like there's a little bit of glitchiness within trying to use the command line within a browser. So let's go ahead and run npm install in here. Excellent. All right, let's back out and let's try this again. Mix start. All our dependencies seems to be running. It just said that we're running on localhost 4000. And let's see. Because we're running in the browser, I don't think we'll be able to hit the site through the standard localhost 4000 port because it's running on the web. But if we wanted to gain access to it, we can click it that way, and this will give us a authenticated protected URL to our running application. So there it is, a running application in the cloud. Now, if we wanted to get this running, so here's the little trick. If you wanted to do standard development, and you can see the resolved URL and everything. If you wanted to get this running more like you were to do this on locally, you can actually run a GitHub code space you can actually have your local version of Visual Studio Code connect to the code space in the cloud, so you can still use your locally installed Visual Studio Code and also use the still reference to localhost and still access localhost. The browser base is great for if you're doing coding with a tablet. It makes things a little bit weird for authentication when you're trying to do like OAuth redirects, which we're going to be doing shortly. Makes it a little tricky because we have this like special URL that forwards to our application that's running in a server somewhere. But when we try to run things locally, it does some special port forwarding. So that's what we're going to try to do now. So we're going to go from running in the browser, and we're going to go into running this, having our local version of Visual Studio Code connect to the server that's running in the cloud and do development in there. Just like we did earlier with having our local version of Visual Studio Code connect to a container that was running locally and doing development in there. Instead, we're going to be connecting to our container running in the cloud and doing development in there. The easiest way to do that is on the bottom left, clicking code spaces, and just click where you want it to open. So I use Visual Studio VS Code Insiders. So we're going to tell it, I want you to open this up in VS Code Insiders. Yes. And we're going to go ahead and close this out. So now Visual Studio Code on my computer is going to go and connect to the remote server, like you can see right there. All right, all my extensions that I have on my account. So I'll just give it a little bit to finish initializing. But now, for all appearances, it looks like we're developing on code that is local to us. But really, all these files, this whole project is running in the cloud. We're connected to a server that's not on our computer, and looking at this code remotely. So let's try this again. Let's try running mixstart again. Let's see, cannot. Oh, because we already have the server already running. So I made an with having the server not killing the previous run of mixstart. Oops. So we're gonna have to kill that process. That's currently running on port 4000. Actually, let's see. Can I still, let's see, since it's running, let's see if the actual port forwarding, oh, the port forwarding does recognize it. So if I go to here and launch localhost 4000, there it is. We connected to our running application. Unfortunately, we don't have access to that running server. That running process. So if we wanted to start or stop it, we're going to hit a snag in that we can't kill the process. So let me see if I have a cheat sheet for looking up killing a process running on a port. So let's see if this will work. No. Let's see if this will work. So it looks like it is this process here, 55386. And 53. No. Not sure if that did anything. If I just killed things myself. Ah, the server's still running. Well, one thing we can do is we can just kill this whole thing and just restart it again. See, so our code space is a 4-core, 8 gigabyte, 38 gigabyte RAM, 32 gigabyte storage. Not bad for a little development environment. So give me a second here while I go off screen to make sure that I kill this without leaking any important information. I can find the process. Yeah, not exactly sure why. Let me look this up real quick. Give me a second. Nope. I'm getting messages. Okay. Okay, so this is being weird. So what I'm going to do, since this is being weird, is we're going to go ahead and just kill, disconnect and suspend this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reconnect to it and see if that clears our port, because I'm having trouble trying to get that port. So let's try to reconnect that code space using the code spaces extension. So we don't have to go the roundabout way of going through GitHub, launching it, and then connecting to it. I have an extension that'll let me just connect to it directly. So that port is still running. Which is rather unfortunate. So let me go ahead and close this. Next time we'll be a little bit more careful with what we're doing. This is not what we want. We want our other project. This guy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and delete the old code space. And we're going to create a brand new one. Now this shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Since this has all been done before. We're on the npm phase, so we're almost through. Now we're installing all the mixed dependencies that are in the Docker file. And we're on the last couple steps. Steps 5 out of 7, 6 out of 7, 7 out of 7, and now it should be getting the last leg of our work through. All right. So before we open this up in VS Code locally, I'm just going to run mix steps to install the dependencies, and then npm install within our assets folder. So mix steps. Oh, we have to copy over the dev secret file again. So remember that it will automatically open that file if when you drag it in. So hide the screen, drag that file over into our config file, and let me close it because it just opened it, and then show my screen again, and not have the cursor selected over it. All right, mix steps. My Elixir extension might have already fetched the depths already, but dependency build is outdated. Please run a mix. All right, let's do that then. Mix depths. Oops. Mix depths. Compile. And then let's also go into the assets folder. And try running npm install. So it's doing the dependency install there. It's running npm install. And then after all this is done, we will open this up in VS Code locally. So we can do localhost development instead of that really long URL. npm install should be quick, but again, it's npm. The node sass part's probably going to be the longest part. Let's take a look. npm is done. How about this? Almost. Almost. Okay. Now, before we try to run this, let's open this up locally so we don't have a rogue localhost process just running. There we go. Connecting to the server. And we'll just give it a minute to initialize everything. And then we'll start recoding. It's taking a while to open remote, but the files are already here. Just no extensions, nothing in here. Okay, well, while it tries to do open the remote stuff, let's talk about what is kind of next on our agenda of stuff. So we should, let's start up the server. So where we left off last time is we had finished implementing the going through the guide of Guardian to set up a simple login system with email and password, I believe. All it does is the login system. All right, it's angry at me because we have yet to actually set up our database. There we go. And now I should stop getting angry at me. So we should be able to hit our server on localhost 4000 now. There we go. Good stuff. There we go. We see the requests coming in. So we had set up Guardian to allow us to log in and log out with our user. And I already forgot what our user, well, we don't even have the user because I think with Guardian, it had us go into and manually create a user. When through the process. Installation, implementation. Getting started with Guardian. So this is what we followed. So it had us create a login page and then log out URLs. But what we were missing was the actual ability and protect. Yeah, so you can create a user and then that will log us in. So what was missing was being able to actually create a user like through signing up. And I believe Guardian made a call out that if you need to do that, then you need to use, you need to roll your own. And what we're going to try, since we are dealing with since we're doing a Streamlabs clone, what we want to do is we want to allow users to log in with Twitch. So we don't actually need email and password. What we do need is Twitch login. That's what we need. And at the very end of the stream, we were trying to look up if there had existed any Ueberauth. So the library to use to do login stuff is called Ueberauth for OAuth. That has integration. It's supposed to have some friendly integration with Guardian. But Ueberauth did not contain any strategies for Twitch. So off stream, two Fridays ago, not last Friday, but the Friday after the last stream, I went ahead and created an Ueberauth for Twitch. I didn't do, it's not anything sophisticated or fancy. All I did was go in, clone someone else's Ueberauth repo, and updated it to work with Twitch. So it took an afternoon of doing it, of like copy and pasting and tweaking a couple things for the URLs. But now Ueberauth Twitch exists as the strategy for Twitch. So that's what we will be using, is a brand new Ueberauth. So this is actually, this should have been actually updated this this README here with something new. It shouldn't be that anymore. It's not even reflected there. Let's see. Maybe I just didn't push the code. Let's find out. Documents code Ueberauth Twitch. Yeah, looks like it wasn't up to date. I forgot to push the code. There you go. So that's so now Ueberauth 001 is out and about. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to integrate in Ueberauth and try to figure out how to get this so we can do login with Ueberauth, integrating with Ueberauth and Guardian. So let's go ahead and go through the song and dance of doing all this. So let's go ahead and add this as a new dependency to our dependency majigger. Okay. And so we should be able to do a mix deps get. So we have that, and it's so quick compared to NPM, super quick. It's ridiculous. And then we want to add the strategy to our application. So application Ueberauth. Like that. I think that should do the trick. So we might have to restart our server with this new change. Let's see, what else do we have to do? We have to add in our Ueberauth configuration. So let's go to our config exs, and then add in our Ueberauth config. Apparently I didn't copy and paste that properly. So Ueberauth strategy, identity, post, adding in all the good stuff here. And then the next step would be to adding for adding in the OAuth credentials for our application. So this is going to have to go into our production secret EXS. Let's see, our config. Goes here. We're trying to get the system environment variables. And then what I'll have to do is I'll have to also add this to the dev secret folder, but actually fetch the actual client ID, client secret, and stuff like that for our local development. So with that being said, what we have to do is, I don't think we have we have yet to create an application yet. So we have to log in with Twitch. So let me hide my screen real quick. That was the, what? What do you mean my user doesn't exist? There we go. Just wrong password. Okay, now I need to wait for my OAuth. There we go. Five, 4, 1. Okay. What? There we go. Authorizing in. And we're in. So let me clear this out. So we're in. Let's check my console. And we might need to go ahead and create a new application. So we have this Ueberauth testing application. Let's go ahead and change this to call this Phoenix Streamlabs. Clone application. This is the callback URL that we're going to have to that's going to be sent to once everything's said and done. I'm trying to see if in the documentation actually reflect that. Not exactly, but that's it. Website integration. I am not a robot. There is the client ID that we will be using. And then I am going to have to generate a brand new secret that we're going to use for our credentials for local. So with that being said, I have to have my screen again because I'm going to crack open the dev secret EXS to put in all this good information that is super secret. So updating the client ID. And then I am going to generate a new secret. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then the system redirect URI. I am not sure whether if I need that still. I'm going to delete that for now and see what happens. So let me go ahead and close these out. Let me go ahead and refresh this so it doesn't show anymore. The secret anymore. Good. Good. Okay. So finished this, finished this, finished this. Now we have to include the Ueberauth plug into our in our controller to our pipeline browser controller. So in our, I think that's in our routes, right? Use Ueberauth controller. Let's see. Our auth controller. I think we have to use it here. Well, I'll double check the thing. Let's see. So create a request, callback routes that if you haven't already. So scope auth. So that's our session controller. So I wonder if we should just extend our session controller. So within our, I guess we'll just do new scope then. New scope, where it's going to be auth. We'll have to create a new controller. Phoenix clone web. Do and that. We do have an auth pipeline. So we go through auth. Let me change the order of this so that such that it will go below any of these. We might need to restart the reopen and close this this environment because it's still kind of trying to open remote, but it's not successfully loading all the extensions. So let me go ahead and close this real quick. Hold on. Actually, before we try to close this, I want to make sure there's nothing running. Okay, good. Close that. Terminate the sessions. And then let's go ahead and open up VS Code again. And there it is, the code space. Let's try to see if we can connect to the code space. Okay, let's give it a minute. Wait for it to try to finish reinitializing everything. Hopefully this opening remote thing goes away eventually. I've actually never encountered this issue where it just forever is opening remote. All right, let's look at while that's going on, let's actually double check and look at the Ueberauth guide things. So strategies plug and decorate. Okay, request phase, handle request. So we do need to add the Ueberauth dependency. That is true. So that's one thing I forgot to do. We added our Ueberauth Twitch, but we do need to add in the Ueberauth dependencies. So let's go ahead and mix deps get. Syntax error on line 31. So we'll get rid of that for now because that's a syntax error going on right there. Oh, it's duplicated. Are we already implement? Okay, we are already pulling it in. Okay. So let's go ahead and move these two next to each other and this one next to each other. We'll move this one up. Okay. So in our config exs, believe we already have that where it's calling out where we're doing Ueberauth providers identity, and then we have this going on here. With our scope. In Phoenix, plug this module in your controller. Yeah, we have the sessions controller. We should just add it in the sessions controller now that I'm thinking about it. So let's go ahead and add that into the sessions controller. And then what we were doing here with the routes is the URL matching is done via pattern rather than explicit runtime. Your strategy will intercept the relevant. I might need to actually set up an auth controller. Yeah. Let's just do that. Again, not 100% used to doing stuff in Elixir or in Phoenix or either. So auth controller, we'll just manually create one. Not a big deal. My app is not my app. It is the Phoenix clone. Cool. Let's go over to the router file. Let me close this. And then scoping auth, we scope that to the clone web, and then we say that these slashes go to the auth provider. And hopefully that's all we need to do. It's still trying to open in remote, which sucks. Let's see. So if I run mix start, ooh, module clone is not loaded, cannot be loaded, and auth controller ex. Online 2. Am I missing something important? So it says compilation error, module Phoenix cannot be found. Oh, .web. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. So it is up and running. So if we go to this and we try to go to auth Twitch, it takes us to Twitch, and then Twitch redirected us back, but we got an error with missing redirect URI for our, so that thing I deleted in my this property I deleted in my dev config, I absolutely needed. So let's add that back in. Can't show you, but believe you me, I'm adding that in. So the redirect URI is going to be /auth/twitch/callback. I think, forget if I have to do the full resolved path, or if I can just do the short path. /auth/twitch/callback. So I'm restarting the application. So it picks up the new configuration file, new changes to the config file. Let's go ahead and try going to our application again and /auth. That doesn't work, but we do have a /auth/provider. So we do Twitch. So the redirect URI does not match the registered. Oof. So we just have to copy this. And I have to add that into the dev file. So this redirect URI that we're registering with the application, that's what I need to set as my my redirect within the file. Okay. Close that. Redo this. So kill that. Restart this. And let the server up and running. And let's do this again. So auth, Twitch, callback. Oop, not auth, Twitch, callback. Auth, Twitch. Undefined method or private callback. So now we just need to define our callback within our auth controller. So we expect a connection. With information. Now we just do our callback handler. And I believe that's it. Let me double check my other project that I tested this in. Ueberauth example. So this is what I tested the Ueberauth Twitch stuff in this project here. Yeah, well, that I regenerated the secret for this, so this is fine. So yeah, so that's what it was. The localhost, so I put in a client and stuff. The secret's no longer valid, so that's okay. That's safe to show. So that's good for anyone that's curious on how to do the configuration. And a full URL over here for the Ueberauth provider in the config. Go back to this one. Ueberauth Twitch with the default scope. Let's try to see if we can make this smaller. Just a little bit. We did all this identity stuff here, which is the same. And then we have an auth controller that handles the callback. And then here is our callback methods. So let's go ahead and steal these instead of reinventing the wheel. Now, does that exist in the documentation? It does not. But it might be worth adding to the README for the project, for mine, of implementing the to deal with Ueberauth data and response. Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and update this README to have that information in here. Because I don't like not having that information. There we go. Yeah, let's just save it like that. I think this looks good. Oop. Let's edit it a little bit. It doesn't look that good. I should have used the preview. Let's add in Elixir so it looks good. Yeah, that looks much better. And then the indentions are slightly off. Oops. You know what? We'll just leave the indentions alone for now. I'll work on it later when I can have a better environment to do that in instead of here. Cool. So let's go ahead and implement those callbacks so I can close this out. Thank you, example project, for giving me inspiration. So here we are. We have two different functions in here. One that handles if the authentication fails and displays a flash message and logs it out. And well, we'll get rid of the log. That was my own debug code, so we're getting rid of that. And then one, if it actually passes, we get the information and creates a user from auth. So this is something we'll have to implement. So this does not exist yet, this user from auth. So that's going to fail when we try to authenticate. It's similar in fashion what we were doing here with the user manager, where we authenticate a user, but we'll probably want to extend our user manager to then also manage creation of a user. I wish the highlighting was functioning properly. So now that we have the controller implemented, we should hopefully get a different sort of error. Invalid authorization code, that's fine. It's already expired. Yeah, so we're missing that function now. So now we were able to successfully go with Twitch, authenticate with Twitch. Since we're missing that step of authorize because Twitch has already been previously authorized on my Twitch account. We're redirected back with all the good information about my user, and now we need to actually go and either look up the user to log them in, or what we need to do is we need to create the user in the database. So that is what needs to happen next for our user manager. So we do have a create user step. And we do have, like seeing the syntax, not seeing the syntax is a major bummer right now. So what I'm going to try to do here is close this, open up a new window. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to suspend the code space. So I'm using the code spaces extension. Okay, so here's our code space for our repo, and I'm just going to go ahead and stop it for now, suspending it. So we're not deleting it, we're just telling the server stop. And then we'll connect to it again, starting it all up again, and hopefully that resolves the issue with the continuous the ever continuous configuration stuff. One thing to note that I thought was really awesome with when using code spaces is if you were doing some work in code spaces and you have some changes in there and you have not committed them, when you're deleting, because you can only have 2 code spaces for active, when you're trying to delete one, when you try to delete it, it will tell you you have uncommitted changes in that code space and warn you so you don't accidentally delete work that you had in progress. So thumbs up to to the developers for making sure you don't shoot yourself in the foot. All right, so that didn't solve our weird little opening remote issue. So we'll just kind of keep on trudging along with this. So we have lists, get lists, get user, and a create user. What I want to do is probably do the same thing that is expected here, where it is find or create. So we'll do so let's start with a doc header of what we want. So before we try to do anything, let's start with the doc header and just the hollow shell of our method. So get rid of all this. Find, get, or create a user. Get or create user. Get or create user. And that will get an object with fields coming in. And then from here, so let's see, mix test. So this should actually fail because this is a doc test. At least I expect the doc test to run. I think I set this project up to do that. Question mark. Oh yeah, and this is actually going to be user manager. All right. So it doesn't run doc tests. Okay. Whatever. So in order to create a user, we have to do the attributes. Actually, let's see if we do have a user manager test file. I can't trust this because the extension's still running. So we do have user manager tests. So let's write some tests. Tests get or create user /1 with let me move this down because they are adjacent to each other. With valid data returns error change set. So kind of the same thing. So with valid data, well actually with valid data returns with user. Yeah, returns okay with user. Returns okay. So assert okay user equal. How do we check for if it returns a user? I like that. So we have a user fixture. Oopsie. So get or create users. So the data that comes in is going to be different. That's the thing. We're not passing in. So this is going to fail right now because we don't know what our data is going to look like. I don't remember what the exactly the attributes look like right now. We could probably log that out. Actually, we can see it right here. Never mind. So we do get an object. A lot of different things. We get data. Let's take this. Format JSON. Paste that in, format that. Let's see if we can actually see what it looks like. Dang it, it's not JSON. Can we use a Elixir formatter? No. Oh, here we go. Oh no. No, okay. So we would use the extra raw info. Oh, we do have user, we do have data. It comes in through a tuple. Let me see if that other project just already handled this for us, so we don't have to actually do this the hard way. So user from auth, let's go ahead and dive into that. There it is, user from auth. So that just straight up passes through it comes in through the connection. Interesting. So Ueberauth auth. Okay, yeah, we already have that portion done. Let's take a look at the next one. So we pass an auth, and then we do the create or auth. So let me close this right here. And then auth credentials. Validate pass. So where is validate pass then? PW. No, we're not doing that. Basic info. Auth UID. Name from auth. Oh God. So the root auth object has most of the stuff we need, looks like, because we pass auth into basic auth info, and then that has all under auth info. We have auth name, auth.info, name, last name, nickname. So auth.info has most of the stuff that we need. So we just pass an auth into this from the session controller. Nope, don't need that. Auth into here. From here. And then we want to find the user by we're not going to be finding them by ID. We're going to be finding them by their UID. So we need their UID. Let's see, where's info in here? Here's auth info right here. We also have information about the provider. And so we need provider. We don't have the UID though. So this already seems, so my Ueberauth implementation is missing a one little bit, and that's fetching the UID. We have description. There's the ID. And ID is contained under what looks to be the user info. So user info. So we're gonna have to, we're gonna have to do a little bit of little debugging here. So how do we do Pride debugger in here? Elixir. IEX Pride, there we go. Go to this, comment out this. There we go. So let me restart the server, but instead we're going to restart the server in the debug mode, or in not in debug mode, but running in IEX, so we can debug. So it's up and running. Excellent, excellent. Let me add to my notes. Do I have any notes around doing a debugger? Pin, conditions, catch. I do not see any notes around creating a debugger statement, so we're going to add one in right now. Debugger to the code. Just like that. But that's not it. That's it. There we go. Excellent, excellent. All right, now we go over, we do the song and dance again of authenticating with Twitch. So go to auth Twitch. And I was hoping user manager get or create. I thought we already Get or create. Maybe I didn't say the file. User manager get or create. Okay, let's try this again. There, I just saved the file. Module user manager is not available. That could be the other thing that is wrong with this whole ordeal, is that user manager does not exist. So we have to include that in. User manager we don't care about user manager user or user manager. We just care about base user manager. Okay. Let's try this again. User manager get or create what? It's right there. Restart. Excellent. Okay, let's just take this whole line. I'll chalk this up to my inexperience with Elixir, so we'll just take this whole line in, importing in all the aliasing and all sorts of stuff that we don't actually need. That's a new error. Okay. Get or create. Oh, I said get or create user. That will explain the whole thing. If I had syntax highlighting, I probably would have noticed that way sooner. There we go. We hit the, yes, allow the debug. All right, let's take a look at our auth object. So there's our auth object. We should have in info a bunch of user defined information that we could use to create my user. So that is amazing. So let's go ahead and test. Let's go ahead and take this data and use this for testing, because this is all the data that we get back from Ueberauth. So we could use this for our test to test out our implementation. So auth info. So let's go ahead and paste this in here and indent this a bit. So I don't think I need this whole part of like this token. We're not going to use a token thing. So we'll just go ahead and replace that because that doesn't matter. This is also the same, a refresh token. What matters, a refresh token. So we're gonna try to chug through this whole thing until we can get this completed. So all the other information is 100% valid. Okay. So the auth info, we get that. So let's go ahead and pass that in. So the attributes that we're going to want to pull out and add when we're finding or creating the user is going to be the email address, their display name, and we can use their profile image. Yeah, from the info. So email address, nickname, and image, and description, potentially. So we'll try using that. So we'll change the order of this. So email, we definitely need UID. We need to say who the provider is that we're authenticated with. So this is going to be some new columns that we're going to have to generate onto the table. Maybe a description. What else was I saying? Nickname. And an image. Profile image. URL. And that is under auth info email. The UID is going to be somewhere different. This is going to be hard coded to Twitch, but we can probably just do auth.provider. Actually, provider. This one is auth info description auth info nickname auth info, and I believe image and UID we pulled from the user data, it looks like, because there's our ID here. So extra user. I'm gonna have to update the my Ueberauth Twitch gem to actually pull the UID properly. That's definitely something that I have to do on the side. I guess for now we can just assume that UID is pulled in until I can get that fix in. So I don't have to like crawl through all that data. So right now UID is just going to be nil. So it's just auth UID. So our user fixer is going to try to create a user with those attributes, but it's going to fail in our test setup because it is not set up to do that right now. So if I were to do mixed test, I would expect this to fail. Right here. Because the fixture that's defined up here takes in the attributes, and then tries to create the user. So let's see here. So there was a syntax here. Unexpected reserved keyword end online 138. So I might have added one too many ends somewhere. Or missed a do. And let's see here, undefined function, user info. User info. Yes, that is undefined. Because it's supposed to be auth info, not user info, auth info. All right, we have a failing test here. And let's see what that says. Get or create, user manager get or create is undefined. Now let's take a look. You see here. Get or create underscore user. User manager get or create underscore user. Exclamation mark. Now we wait. Oh, we don't wait. It's already finished running. I just need to scroll down. Let's see here. So ecto, so it didn't find the user. It tried. I was hoping that the fixture was going to create the user. Username some user, and it just created some random stuff in here. Created. So I didn't even think. Actually, let's actually go and check our user repo, because we don't even have those fields for email, any of that stuff. So we're going to have to create a migration to even allow for those fields to exist. So we're looking to have an email. String. We're looking to have, what else are we looking to have? We've defined it in our test, what we want. A UID. That's a string. Can't forget that little colon there. Description. That's going to be a string. Actually, let's make that a text field, because descriptions could be long. Field, and we have nickname. That is going to be a string. And then this one is going to force me to make everything else indented. Again, that's going to be a string. So that is our fields that we're going to be including. So cast attributes. I always forget what this part is. So email is required. UID. Sure. If we're only logging in with Twitch, UID is going to have to be required. I guess our username. Our username could be our nickname, like that, so we don't have to do this. So our username is the Twitch, the user's Twitch name. So username, password, email, UID, description, and profile image URL. And then I have to actually generate a migration. So let's look at generating migrations, because that is something I have only read about and never done. Gen schema. Let's look up this one. Gen migration. There we go. Migrations are a programmatic, repeatable way to affect changes to a database schema. Migrations are also just modules. We can create them with the ecto gen migration task. Let's walk through the steps. Okay, notice that the migration name begins. So it's like just like with Rails migrations, and then we need to add it. So I'm gonna go ahead, add this command into, there's running migrations. Let's go ahead and create a create a migration. Because that is something I do not know off the top of my head just yet. Boop. Just like that. So within our project, we want to add fields to user. To users table, that's the convention it seems. Add comments table. It just ends up scaffolding something empty, so I'm just trying to be descriptive here. So let's try running that. What's going on here? Oh, interesting. For field description, is there not like a text type field for migrations? If you don't want to impose limit, most databases support text type or similar. Wait, what? So what was my error again? Let's read that in detail. Compilation unvalid, unknown, type text. Really? All right, we'll just switch this to. I just don't want to get hung up on this for now. Okay. And then next is actually adding the change sets. So I can probably just copy and paste what I did here into here and tweak it. So add city, add da 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 da. Well, I probably will want to add an index to UID. And an index for email. So what I have to do is say, instead of field, just say add. And then create index on oh wait, I need to add. We're not saying what table we're adding this to. I just realized. Transaction callbacks. There we go, alter table. And the table we're altering is the users table. So for users, I'm adding an index on email. And on users, I'm adding an index of UID. Because I'm definitely going to have to search those for those in the future. See, a description can be a text type. Let's see. Okay, let's see how this does. So mix ecto migrate. Cool. Now we have those fields added. What next? So we already did. Schema migrations. Okay. So we'll close these out here. And then we'll try to see if we can get the test pass. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. We got validation errors. Talking about email and UID can't be blank. Yeah, email can't be blank, UID can't be blank. Although I thought I was setting that up so that they're not blank. Or which test is this failing? Oh, this is failing a bunch of tests. Haha. Okay. Makes sense. When we create a user, you have to set a UID. test@email.com. So that should pass most of the tests, I believe. Yeah, except for the one. So this did create a user with that information that we passed in with the description, with the email address, and then it's complaining that the UID can't be blank. Right. So until I fix the issue, I'll have to set the UID to not be nil. So now that fails properly because it didn't define anything for testing user manager, because now it's not fully implemented. So that is the error we're expecting because it's not returning back anything. So if we were to try to find that user, we would have to find them via user get. So we want to do we want to use repo get. Let's see. Let me double check with. Yeah, Ecto repo. So let's look up the docs for Ecto repo. Get by. So we want to do a get by. Get by title. There we go. So like this. We don't want it to error out if it's not able to find them. So it would be UID auth UID. Well, we'll want to combine this with multiple things. So let's see if we're doing so I think if we want to, based off reading this, if we want to do multiple fields, I'll have to do an array, a list. And then our provider, question mark, let's see. We'll have to create this user with the provider also. Our provider's Twitch. So we want to find them by the user and then the UID and the provider, which is Twitch. Auth provider, I believe, is how we're doing that. Yeah, right next to each other. So that should return back the user if I'm doing this query correctly. Syntax error before provider. That's because okay, here we go. I did it incorrectly. So probably I just have to do this as a where clause instead of a get then, if we can only do it by one single let's see, so query go back to the repo. Can I just, there has to be something in the repo that makes it really easy for me. I hope. We'll see. Delete all, get by. So accepts a queryable. See, I read an article that might get us where we need to be for querying. So I bookmarked an article for Elixir because I knew that I knew my inexperience dealing with querying would get to me, understanding associations. So it's not that. Also, let me show the URLs. Here we go. This is the one I need. So once we get, I think once we get this test done, then we'll call it a day for now. So there's repo get, fetching all. So there's how we do it in Ruby. Here we go, like this. So we can do, let's see if this works. And this is the beautiful thing about doing this in tests. So user, pipe into this where clause here for UID, where UID is equal to auth.uid. And where, again, I dot provider is equal to auth dot provider. Hopefully this all works. And pipe that into this. Yeah, hopefully I can just do repo get like that. Let's find out. And auth, unbound variable auth in query. How do I go about let's look at the where clause documentation here. About passing in, how do we do variables? because it's complaining about unbound variables. So use, okay, use that. Okay, maybe I should just read the error messaging better. Okay, so what's going on here? Provider not found in, ooh. Well, it's right there. Oh, I misspelled it. Okay, so that failed because of the get. So let me see the difference between all. So all accepts a queryable and options. Queryable and options. And then get queryable ID and options. Queryable clauses. Let's see if I do get by, if I'll let me do it this way. Yeah. Get by, so if we do all, so let's see here. So provider in field. So try to do stuff. So field provider and where does not exist in schema Phoenix. Oh, did I not add provide? Did I really not add provider in here? I didn't. Let's roll back. Mix. How do we roll back migrations? Mix tasks. Mix ecto. Great. Rollback. We're running in on time. Come on, let's do this. Mix ecto rollback looks like it. Roll. Yeah, there it is. I saw it right there. So we'll roll back the migration. We'll add in a new field into that migration. Migrations, here we go. Add provider. Forgot we need a provider. Oof. Add that in. And then we migrate that to add that back to the database. Let's update our user. So field provider. String. There we go. Great. Our test's telling us when we're doing something wrong. Perfect. Oh, let's see here. Error, undefined column, provider, and users. Undefined method, provider, really? I thought we just did a migration. Let me update my user session real quick because it's complaining about or the auth callback. Because this needs to be a bang. Okay. So let's try doing this again. So it's complaining on the fact that undefined column provider of relation users does not exist. I thought that we already created. I misspelled it. Son of a son of a. Now it should work. Oh God. Check your spelling, boys and girls. Oh. Did it not stick? Here, let's triple check my spelling. Provider. We're migrating. Let's do a rollback. Migrate. Good. Do we have to like migrate the test database or something? I don't get it. Yep, I don't get it. Something is misaligned here. Let me get rid of this real quick and see what happens. Do I just have to generate a new migration or something like that? Because whatever it is isn't creating my provider. Here, let's just try generating a new migration then. What was the command to generate a migration again? Ecto gen migration add provider to users table. All we're doing is adding provider. And now do a migrate, and it should do 2 migrations. Okay, that seemed to have worked. Interesting. I don't know why rolling back and changing it and then redoing the migration didn't work, but I had to just create a new file. So Twitch ended up being like a simple type variable. We're almost there. So this can't value Twitch and where cannot be cast to type string in query. Let's see, Elixir Atom to string. So that's to do an existing to atom. What about an atom to a string? Atom to string is not valid query. If you want to invoke atom to string in a query, make sure is required and that to string is a macro. So that's a require atom. So what I'll do for now, just so we can test this if this works, is I'm not expecting any other authentication other than Twitch. So what I'm going to do here is, instead of pulling it from the data that's coming in, I'm going to hard code it with the expectation that this will be the string, that it's always Twitch. In the future, if we expand to other providers, then we'll assert on that. We'll assert on a more general basis. So it didn't fetch. So what is our UID? So the provider is nil. So during our test setup, oh, because we're not accepting, I had deleted provider from the params we accept in. Let's try this again. There was a invalid typecast for provider, really? Oh. Let's see if that'll work. Okay. So that it looks like it's working. It's just that the find getter create by is returning back an array. So if I switch this to match on a user contained inside of an array, I should pass. Yeah. All right. And that brings us to the end of the stream. So we're not done yet. All we've done in the logic for this user manager create or get user is verify if we can get an existing user. So if I were to try to log in with Twitch and I've already a user that's authenticated into the system, it will go and fetch the user. I need to do the create portion that if the user doesn't exist, then we should go and create that user we should go and fetch the information that we were looking at, create the user in the database, and then log them in. So we're not 100% there yet. We have Twitch integration, and we just have to finish the steps of either logging them in if they already exist or creating the user if they don't exist yet and then logging them in. So we'll continue that adventure next time. So thank you everyone for hanging out. And again, if you have any questions, comments, or anything like that, you can always hit me up on Twitter at TalkToMeGooseman. Let me go ahead and display my username at the bottom of my little window right here. You can leave comments on the YouTube videos or tweet at CodingZeal if you have any requests or anything like that. But thanks so much for hanging out with me and going through the motions of this as a novice like myself continues to get better and learn and grow as we in our adventure. So thanks everyone. I hope to catch you later, and bye.